ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pathfinder Connect. Today we'll be looking at one of the seminars that is found in the Master Guide curriculum. Today we'll be looking at a seminar. Please, before we get into it, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. First, when you look at this picture, what comes into your mind? Let me pause for like a second for you to analyze the picture, and let's see what comes into your mind. Okay, we'll be looking at communication theory. My name is David Poku, and I will be your facilitator today for this seminar. We'll be looking at what is communication, process of communication, types of communication, levels of communication, barriers of communication, tools of effective communication. Okay, so what is communication? What is communication? They say if you've never done this, then you didn't live your childhood. It is a process of exchanging information, ideas, thoughts, feelings, emotions. And which way do you exchange this? You exchange them through speech, signals, writing, and behavior. Okay. Process of communication. Now that we know what communication is, let's see the process in which communications are done. Okay, so if you look at this diagram that you have here, this chart here. So in communication, a sender sends a message through a channel to the receiver. The receiver then sends a feedback through a channel to the sender. So the reason why it is in a circle is because communication is always in a circle. It's a sender sends a message through a channel to the receiver. The receiver sends a feedback through a channel to the sender. So what happens here is at one point in time, the sender becomes the receiver and the receiver becomes a sender. All right. And this is done through what? Encoding and decoding. Encoding and decoding. So the message from the sender is encoded. And then when the receiver receives it, they decode the message and sends a feedback. All right. Types of communication. People communicate with each other in a number of ways that depends upon the message that is and its context in which it's being sent. Types of communication based on the communication channels used are verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Let's look at these two communication types. Verbal communication. It refers to the form of communication in which message is transmitted verbally. Communication is done by word of mouth and a piece of writing. In verbal communication, remember the acronym KISS. Keep it short and simple. Verbal communication is divided into oral communication and written communication. Oral communication. The picture here says it all. Oral communication. In oral communication, spoken words are used. It includes face-to-face conversation, speech, telephone conversation, video, radio, television, voice over internet. Communication is influenced by pitch, volume, speed, and clarity of speaking. Oral communication advantages are it brings quick feedback. In a face-to-face conversation, by reading facial expression and body language, one can guess whether he or she should trust what is being said or not. Let's look at some of the disadvantages of oral communication. In face-to-face discussion, user is unable to deeply think about what he is delivering. So this can this can be counted as a fault. Written communication. In written communication, written signs or symbols are used to communicate. In written communication, messages can be transmitted via email, letter, report, memo, etc. Written communication is most common form of communication being used in business. Written communication advantages. Messages can be edited and revised. It provides record and backup. It enables receivers to fully understand it and send appropriate feedback. Written communication disadvantages. Written communication doesn't bring instant response. It takes more time in composing written messages. People struggle in writing ability. Non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is the sending or receiving of wordless messages such as gesture, body language, posture, tone of speech, or facial expressions. Non-verbal communication is all about the body language of the speaker. Non-verbal communication have the following 3 elements: appearance, body language, sound. Appearance, body language, sound. Under appearance, we look at the speaker, the clothing the speaker is wearing, hairstyle, neatness, use of cosmetics. Imagine showing up for an interview for a 6-figure job and you are dressed like a homeless person. Nobody will take you serious. In fact, the security at the door will not even allow you to enter. Surroundings. The size of a room matters. The lighting in the room matters. The decoration and the furnishing. If you invite someone to an event, let's say for example a party, and the person shows up and there are plates, there are no cups, there are no spoons, but there is plate and there is bottles of juice or champagne or wine, but there are no cups, there are no spoons, there are no chairs. No one takes you seriously. All right, no one will take you seriously. Body language, we look at facial expressions, we look at gesture and posture. Facial expressions, gesture and posture. Sometimes the way people even roll their eyes can say a lot about what they're telling you or what you are telling them. Sounds, voice tone, speech rate. Some people speak very fast. They speak very fast, so it's hard for us to hear them. Others, when they speak and the way they speak, you can tell that they are very angry because of the tone of their voice. Okay. Levels of communication. Levels of communication. We have intrapersonal communication. If you look at the picture here, the big thing that you see here, it says what? Self-talk. Self-talk. So interpersonal communication is basically communication that occurs in your own mind. It is the basis of your feelings, bias, prejudice, and beliefs. These are things that goes on in your head. Example, making decisions on what to eat or where. It happens in your head, so it is intrapersonal. Thinking about what to do over the weekend. It happens in your head, is intrapersonal. When you think about other people, it is intrapersonal. Then we have interpersonal communication. It is the communication between two people, but can involve more in informal conversation. Example, talking to your friends is interpersonal communication. A teacher and students discussing an assignment is interpersonal communication. A patient and a doctor discussing a treatment is also considered as interpersonal communication. A manager and a potential employee at an interview is interpersonal communication. Small group communication. Small group communication is communication within formal or informal groups or teams. It is group interaction that results in decision making, problem solving, and discussion within an organization. Examples: a group planning a surprise birthday party for someone, a team working together on a project. These are small group communications. One-to-group communication. One-to-group communication involves a speaker who speaks to inform, persuade, or motivate an audience. Example: a teacher and a class of students, a preacher and a congregation, a speaker and an assembly of people. Mass communication. Mass communication is the electronic or print transmission of messages to the general public. Outlets called mass media include things like radio, television, film, and printed materials designed to reach large audience. Examples: a television commercial, a magazine, newspapers, billboards, a song on the radio. Let's look at some of the things that hinders us in communication. Barriers of communication. Physical barrier. Sometimes you are in a place and then the person you want to talk to is also in another place. Because of that, you can't communicate because there is a physical barrier between the two of you. Like seen in this picture, there is a wall. Perceptual barrier. Perceptual barriers, some of the examples are stereotype, assuming that the audience has the knowledge or capacity to understand the message. Perceived status, particularly if we think that the person we are communicating with is of much higher or lower status than we are. These are perceptual barriers. Emotional barriers. Emotional barriers, this can happen between a husband and a wife, a couple. Maybe the woman is on her period and because of that, her emotions are all over the place. Or maybe the guy just don't feel like talking to his wife at the moment, so emotions are in place. Maybe someone forgot to turn off the water, or someone didn't put the toilet seat down after using it. This can raise emotions in the relationship, and that brings out emotional barriers. Cultural barriers. Cultural barriers. Look at this picture here. This picture says a lot. This picture says a lot. Here we have a situation at an international airport where you have an Englishman raising his hands to greet the Asian gentleman, and the Asian gentleman doesn't greet that way, so he bows down to the European person. And then you have a black woman, a man who also has this tendency of every white woman is up against them, so that brings up him not trying to even communicate with the person. And then these are all sort of cultural barriers. Genesis chapter 11 verse 1 to 9 is a very common story that we know about the tower, the building of a tower. So here we have a group of people who try to build a tower as high as to reach where God is. And God in turn decided to change their languages so that they cannot understand each other. So that brings us to our next barrier, which is language barrier. If you want to get more insight of this story, go and read Genesis chapter 11 verse 1 to 9. Gender barriers. Here we have a group of ladies. We have a group of ladies, and then there's a gentleman in there. There are topics the ladies will be discussing, the men will not be able to communicate or will not be able to even share an idea. Imagine a group of ladies discussing period pains. A group of ladies discussing period pains. You are a man, you have never experienced period pain. If you are in this group, you are next to useless in the group. Interpersonal barriers. Interpersonal barriers. Some of us, we tend to speak too loud. Because of that, some people don't want to listen to us speak. They don't want to even be in the same room with us. It does not mean they hate us, but it's because they can't stand our loudness. They can't stand our tone of voice all the time. Some of us, we also tend to point fingers at others all the time. We tend to point fingers at others all the time. Because of that, people don't want to be close to us. How to overcome barriers of communication. One, we do that by taking the receiver more seriously. If you are the person giving the message, take the receiver more seriously. That way, he or she will be able to sit, listen, and understand what you are saying. Let your messages be crystal clear. Let your messages be crystal clear. Don't beat around the bush. Delivering messages skillfully. Delivering your messages skillfully. Sometimes you need to spice up your grammar. You need to spice up the ways you use. So deliver your messages skillfully. Focusing on the receiver. Let your message be focused on the receiver. Let your message be focused on the receiver. Using multiple channels to communicate instead of relying on one. Okay, like I said, sometimes we have a physical barrier. Maybe I am here and the person is on the other room, but he or she can't hear me when I talk. What is stopping me from testing the person? Using social media to test the person, messaging the person. That is another channel of communication. So maybe I can use that and the barrier is no longer void. Okay. Ensuring appropriate feedback. If someone tells you something or asks you something, sit, take your time, think about it, and give the person the appropriate feedback. Be aware of your state of mind, emotions, attitude. Sometimes we tend to take our emotions where they're not supposed to be. We do not know who pissed you off the night before or the day before, but you show up at work all emotional, and then when someone asks you as something as simple as do you have a stapler or you have staple pins, you start to shout at the person, and all unnecessary communication things are being said there. So please be aware of your state of mind. Tools of effective communication. Tools of effective communication. Be brief. Be brief with your communication. Show manners. Show manners. And when I mean by show manners, good manners. Good manners. Use I. Use I. Don't say he said, she said, I said. He said, she said does not work even in court. So try and use I. Be positive. Take away the negativity. Imagine you are in a group discussing a project and all the ideas you come with, or if someone comes with an idea, all you can think of is the negative aspect of that idea. Try and be a bit positive. Be a good listener. In communication, if I talk, you listen. When you talk, I have to listen. So we have to be good listeners. We can't both be talking over each other. At the end of the day, no one will hear each other. Spice up your words. As I said, spice up your words. For those of you who are busy on WhatsApp and Facebook or in other chatting platforms, you'd like to use emojis to express what you are feeling. Try and use more of that to spice up your words. Clarity. Be clear in what you say. Pronunciations. Here is where the problem is. We are all not from the same background. The country you are from is not the same as the country I am from. So we tend to maybe not say the things the same way others are supposed to say. For example, someone will say doctor. Someone in Nigeria will say doctor. Does it mean the person is wrong? No. But it's how the person or where the person stays that made the person use such pronunciation. It does not mean the person is wrong. Sometimes you have an Asian person who is trying to speak or learn English or another language. But because they have that Asian background, the way they pronounce some of the things are not the same as the way an English person will pronounce, because it's not their mother tongue. So it becomes a bit of an issue. So please, let's pay attention to how people pronounce things, and let's not laugh at them. Okay. Again, effective communication cycle. A message is encoded and sent, and then is decoded and interpreted, and then the feedback is sent, and then the feedback is sent in the same manner. Thank you for joining me for this seminar or presentation. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video, and also click the notification bell icon so that whenever we post a video, you will be the first to view it. Thank you. God bless you.